only water boy.
It's not like you could use a shower, Sticky.
Constantly tormented by everyone.
I'm the water boy, dude. Stop making fun of me.
Football for this team. Everyone.
Oh, please don't hurt me.
With his pain.
You are so sexy.
Adam Sandler.
There's something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
The Water Boy. PG-13. Starts Friday, November 6th.
So The Waterboy, I think, is kind of pretty much self-explanatory. You have Adam Sandler playing a socially inept, stuttering, and somewhat mentally challenged 31-year-old who serves as the Waterboy at the University of Louisiana. And then over at this other school, the South Central Louisiana State University Mud Dogs, led by Coach Henry Winkler, they realize that this guy can not only be a really good football player, but he becomes an outside linebacker and actually turns this team around. And you can pretty much tell where this goes. But more importantly, this was the film that launched Adam Sandler's film career into the stratosphere. This was his first major hit. It went on to become a huge, unexpected hit, grossing $40 million in its opening weekend alone, and later going on to grossing $160 million. But this is typical of the pretty much Adam Sandler formula. But back when most people with a good sense of humor actually liked Adam Sandler and made some funny movies, and he worked with the people behind SNL. I mean, he co-wrote this with Tim Hurley, who was a prolific SNL writer when Sandler was there, and I saw this movie in theaters when it came out, and even to this day, I still really enjoy this movie. I think it is a very fun, stupid, silly comedy. A lot of great performances all around. Adam Sandler, I think, is very funny in here. Kathy Bates, I think, is very good playing his mother. Henry Winkler has a lot of funny moments in here as the coach. I mean, the cast overall in this movie is just great, and the film just has a lot of fun with its concept. It has a lot of fun with the ideas that it has for it. And it's a legitimately funny movie. It's a film that knows it's not meant to be taken seriously at all, but it's not insulting your intelligence like a lot of Adam Sandler's later comedies would do, but it knows exactly what it is, and I think that has the benefit of it. And I think that's what makes it so special. It's directed by Frank Coraci, who also did The Wedding Singer the year before, which is arguably one of Adam Sandler's better comedies, but this is a film that I think really does hold up very well. It's still a very funny movie. If you go into it with the right mindset, you could really have a good time with it. I still remember when I went to see this movie when I was little, and it was at a packed house, too. I think we saw it maybe opening weekend, but yeah, like I said, it's a really good movie. It's a really fun, good-hearted comedy. I would definitely recommend it. If you can go into it with the right mindset, you could definitely have a lot of fun with this movie. The Waterboy, really funny movie. Can't recommend it enough. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is The Siege.
Sir, Jason Hubbard, FBI. And what I propose is that you let these people go, and I'll take their place. I'm going to take your silence to mean that you're considering my offer. Oh, God. Belfast, Beirut, you're not the first city to have to deal with terrorism. This is New York City. Papers.
You don't understand. These guys are pros. From the age of 12, they've been dodging people like you.
The situation is appalling.
They're attacking our way of life. The president wants to stop them. There's only one way to do that.
You say the president is prepared to take the necessary steps.
Today, with the invocation of the War Powers Act by the president, I am declaring a state of martial law in this city. We intend to seal off this borough, and we intend to squeeze it.
Do you have any idea what you're starting here?
Hold on. What they really want is for us to herd children in the stadium like we're doing, and put soldiers on the street and have Americans looking over their shoulders. Bend the law, shred the Constitution just a little bit. We do that, and everything that we have bled and fought and died for is over.
Don't you ever again question my command? Is that clear? I'm not under your command, Jack. I feel like they're going to tell me to do anything that's true.
Well, this certainly is a movie that held up well over time. I mean, not even 3 years after this movie came out, of course, we had September 11th, And the story basically here is that you have a fictionalized situation in which terrorist cells have made several attacks in New York City. And you have this FBI secret agent, Denzel Washington, and you also have this FBI secret agent he worked with, played by Tony Shalhoub. There's a CIA operative, played by Annette Bening, and there's an Army general, played by Bruce Willis. And I think I said last week it was Meg Ryan in this movie, and I'm thinking the other one that that Washington and Ryan starred and directed by the same guy, Courage Under Fire, which is a really good movie. This one, I think it has some ideas that could work, but it's not as good as some of this director's other works. Edward Zwick, I think, has made a lot of really good movies. I don't think this is one of his best ones here. I think it has some ideas that could be very topical, but at the same time, there's not really a whole lot there to really make it something that must be seen. It has some good ideas, just not the best execution per se. And the film was not a big hit. The only reason why this movie had any notoriety, especially after the second weekend, was because there was a teaser trailer brought on there for a highly anticipated movie called Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, a film that was a trailer that everyone was waiting to see, that people were literally paying full price to see the movie, sit down, watch the Star Wars trailer, and they got up to leave. So that's the only notable thing about this movie, honestly, is the fact that people paid money to go and see this, only to see the Star Wars trailer, and then just got the heck out of there. And honestly, I couldn't blame him for it. But for Bruce Willis, in terms of this movie, it's not the worst movie he's been in 1998. I mean, have you seen Mercury Rising? Have you seen Armageddon? This one's not as bad, but it definitely is not the best work for him or this team overall. Denzel Washington always gives it his all, even in movies that are not that great. I think this is another one where he gives it his best performance, but other than that, though, there's not really a whole lot there to make this really something that you need to see. You might want to see it because of the fact that it kind of predicts the future, sort of. In fact, this movie was actually the most rented movie in America after the September 11th attacks, almost kind of like how Contagion was the most watched movie after COVID happened, which is not a good movie to watch if you're watching if you're trying to watch something after the COVID pandemic. But as far as this movie goes, it's fine. Definitely could have been a whole lot better, though, but it's fine for what it is. So that's The Siege. Let's get to a really good movie that came out this weekend, and it's a classic film, the re-release of The Wizard of Oz.
The house began to pitch. The kitchen took a slitch. It landed on the Wicked Witch. In the middle of a ditch.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
It lands in theaters everywhere. For the first time, digitally restored.
These things must be done delicately.
And remastered in digital stereo sound.
Well, that makes a difference.
With all the songs. The magic.
I am Oz.
The fun. Generations have waited to see the most beloved movie of the century on the big screen. And
Toto 2?
Toto 2. The Wizard of Oz Special Edition. Digitally restored and remastered in digital stereo sound. You've never seen Oz like this.
So this was being put out to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the release of The Wizard of Oz. However, notably, this actually came out just after CBS, who had aired The Wizard of Oz on TV nearly every single year from all the way back in 1956. Basically, this re-release came just a few months after they aired it for the last time on CBS, before it eventually moved over to the WB and Turner Broadcasting, and ended up picking up the movie, and it would air it multiple times on TBS, TNT, and then later down the road on Cartoon Network. But it was notable because this was the last. This came out on theaters again the same year that CBS stopped airing the movie every year. It used to be like a holiday tradition. Like, it didn't matter what time of the year it was. It could have been Easter, Could have been Thanksgiving, could have been Christmas. You would have seen this movie on television at least twice a year in the 1990s. But in 1998, May was the last time you could see it in 98 on CBS, but then eventually came back to theaters. And, I mean, what more do I need to say about The Wizard of Oz? It's a classic film, visually gorgeous to look at, a film that just has so many memorable moments to it. The songs, the characters, the storytelling, the production values for this time period is top-notch. I mean, what do I even need to say about it, man? It's a classic film. It's a film that must be seen by everybody. It's a film that's kind of recommended viewing. Even if you're not the biggest movie person, you kind of have to see The Wizard of Oz at one point in your life. And really, when you watch it, you can really see why it still holds up after all these years. Judy Garland's great as Dorothy. You got all these great performances by Jack Haley, Burt Lahr, Ray Bolger, Billy Burke, Buddy Ebsen, like these really terrific performances, these really great characters, this really fantastic music, this amazing world. I mean, nothing ever tops what The Wizard of Oz was able to do. There's been movies that have been trying to capture that same kind of element, but they don't come close to the classic movie. The Wizard of Oz, what more do I even need to say about it? It's a classic film. If you have not seen it by this point, get off your ass and go see it, man. You're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Like I said, it's kind of recommended viewing no matter who you are. So, that's The Wizard of Oz. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Belly.
Purpose, dog. It's money. We born to die, man.
I love you, Tommy. I'm gonna be waiting for you.
You gotta promise. You gotta swear that you will not go looking for them.
Ain't a cowboy. I just came to see if we can do something. Come on! I am the original Junior Condandana.
Belly. Rated R. Starts November 4th.
So Belly follows these two gangsters who have learned how to make a good living by dealing drugs and pulling armed robberies. The two guys have been able to move out of the ghetto in Queens when they were raised and relocated to an upscale section of Manhattan. They would seem to have it made, but both realize that their lives are heading towards a dead end. One of the guys begins getting in touch with his African roots and trying to convince his girlfriend that they should immigrate to the motherland, while another has a religious awakening and joins the Nation of Islam. Most notably, this is the feature directorial debut for Hype Williams, who's a really incredible music video director. In fact, it's amazing that this guy has not directed more movies, considering what he brings to the table when it comes to his music videos. This is a guy that's directed so many classic music videos. Even if you don't know who he is, you definitely have seen his work before. I mean, this is the guy that did the music videos for stuff like Getting Jiggy With It, No Scrubs, Got You All in Check by Busta Rhymes, Gold Digger by Kanye West. He also did Heartless. He's done a ton of great music videos, and this was not the last time that he was going to be a film director. He was actually going to direct Speed Racer before the Wachowski brothers eventually came on board to it. So it's not like he hasn't tried to get back into directing a film. There just hasn't been any opportunities to really get him to do so. And even as I say this, I've actually never seen this movie. I don't really know if it's any good or not, but like I said, if anything for that director, Hype Williams, I gotta think it's gotta look visually pleasing compared to, especially when you consider his music videos he's done. So, I mean, personally, it wouldn't surprise me if this actually ended up being a pretty good movie. But then again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it is or not. But not much more I can say about that one. So that's Belly. So on to the next movie, and that is Velvet Goldmine. So this is based off of a story by Todd Haynes, who was more notably known as the man who directed the infamous Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story, which is yet to be officially released as a full-length film. It's only been released as a little bit of a film, but he also did this film. Set in Britain during the glam rock days of the early 1970s, it tells the story of this fictional bisexual pop star named Brian Slade, who's played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who fakes his own death. You also see that Ewan McGregor, Christian Bale, Toni Collette, Eddie Izzard, all part of this cast in the film. And it uses non-linear storytelling to achieve exposition while interweaving the vignettes of these various characters. That's really all I know about this one, because this is another one that I have not seen. I've heard about it, but most notably I know about it because of the David Bowie song. But I don't think David Bowie has anything to do with this movie, honestly. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. I haven't seen this one, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. So I don't know. looks visually interesting, so it definitely could be worth something to see one day, but I have not seen it, so I can't say any more about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Cate Blanchett and Elizabeth.
It is my business to protect your majesty.
Dangerous mission.
She must never be allowed to succeed.
Require dangerous men.
Think before you do this.
And absolute power.
I am my father's daughter. I am not afraid of anything.
Demands absolute loyalty.
Do not fear to strike, and let it all be done.
2 thumbs up for Elizabeth. It's a hypnotic spectacle. A breathtaking film. Elizabeth. Rated R. Now in select theaters. November 25th everywhere.
This is the story of the early years of Elizabeth I of England, her early reign, where she's elevated to the throne after the death of her half-sister, Mary, who had imprisoned her. As she established herself on the throne, she faces plots and threats to take her down. And this was the movie that introduced the world to Cate Blanchett, and she eventually went on to become the actress that we know her as today. It's a film that's as such a legacy to it that they've actually made a sequel to it almost 10 years later with Elizabeth the Golden Age, which seems weird. It definitely feels like it definitely is very much a sequel, but the first movie, it's pretty good. I mean, it works mostly because of what Blanchett brings to the table. You also have great performances all around from Jeffrey Rush, Christopher Eccleston, Joseph Fiennes, John Gielgud, Richard Attenborough. A phenomenal cast in here. This director, Shekhar Kapoor, that name sounds familiar for some reason. I just don't know what else he did. He did The Four Feathers, which is... it wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't a great one either. Kind of like Elizabeth the Golden Age, which was not a bad movie, but not a great film overall. It's definitely a sequel, like I said before, but this film overall was really good. Like I said, it really works because of Cate Blanchett. I think it really did show everybody that, hey, this woman can actually act and actually could be a really damn good actress someday. And she proved it by what she went on to become an Academy Award-winning actress. She actually won a Golden Globe for this performance. But you watch this movie mostly because of her. I mean, she really is the best thing about the movie. It definitely works mostly because of her. The visuals overall are nice to look at. Some of the action sequences they actually throw in here are nicely done. It's a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it, Elizabeth. So, on to the next movie, and it's Ian McKellen once again after Apt Pupil a couple weeks ago with Brendan Fraser in Gods and Monsters.
To a new world of gods and monsters.
So this is basically a partially fictionalized account of the last days of filmmaker James Whale, played by Ian McKellen, best known for directing Frankenstein and its sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. And as a veteran of World War I, the aged Whale develops a complicated relationship with his gardener, played by Brendan Fraser, a fictional character originally created by Bram for the source novel. And it's directed by Bill Condon. Bill Condon, of course, you know, is the director of Dreamgirls as well as Beauty and the Beast. He's been a good director overall. He's also the producer. He also wrote Chicago. And a good performance overall. Good performances carry the film, I think. Ian McKellen's really good. Brendan Fraser gives a really good performance. So does Lynn Redgrave. But other than that, though, the film itself is just an okay film. I think the performances do elevate the film to something that you should see, mostly because of what they bring to the table here. Ian McKellen usually is going to give a very good performance. Brendan Fraser, I think this is the film that made people realize that Brendan Fraser could actually act, and eventually would lead him to his own Academy Award coming almost 25 years later. And it's a good film. It's a good film. I definitely say check this one out. Gods and Monsters. Speaking of good films, on to the next movie, and that is the re-release of The Big Chill.
Sam's really blue. I don't know what people think about him. You know why they love you. Maybe they do like you. They don't have that problem here. You know I don't like you. Sarah's growing up.
Will always be counted on to do the right thing. It's a disgusting person.
Harold's winding down. You know, the people best thing ever happened. You know, like sex, fun, friendship, and one-man take. So how come they're all having so much fun? Gosh, because they have each other. The Big Chill, rated R.
So this is, of course, the re-release of the 1983 film directed by Lawrence Kasdan and featuring a cast of then young, unknown newcomers, specifically Tom Berenger, Glenn Close, Jeff Goldblum, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Mary Kay Place, Meg Tilly, Joe Beth Williams. Focuses on them as a group of baby boomers who attend the University of Michigan. They reunite after 15 years when their best friend Alex dies of suicide. Kevin Costner was cast as Alex in the film, but all of his scenes showing his face were cut. The film also has a soundtrack of songs from the 1960s and 70s from people like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Rolling Stones, Three Dog Night. It also played a huge inspiration on a number of TV shows such as 30-something and A Million Little Things, and a whole lot of Big Chill knockoffs, stuff like Windy City, the infamous Windy City, and Independence Day, and but again, this is a great movie. I mean, this is a great movie to see a lot of really good, young, talented people before they became the stars that they eventually became. They work off each other very well here. Glenn Close is great in the film. Kevin Kline is really good here, directed by Lawrence Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan's a phenomenal director. We've talked about a lot of his works in the past, including Grand Canyon. Of course, he wrote The Return of the Jedi and The Empire Strikes Back. I think just Empire Strikes Back. I could be. Now I'm curious. Now let me see. Well, he wrote Empire Strikes Back. He wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. He did write Return of the Jedi. Okay, I wasn't too far off. He's written stuff like Continental Divide, The Bodyguard, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Solo: A Star Wars Story. He's made a lot of good stuff, is what I'm trying to say here. And this is probably one of if not his best movie. It's a film that just works so well. The performances carry it through. The music is great. It just kind of opened the door for so many different movies of its type. Like, a movie has left a lasting legacy when it makes films, when we get knockoffs, not but a couple of years after it came out. So yeah, I guess I'm guessing they re-released this because of the fact that it was the 15th anniversary of this movie, and it takes place 15 years after after these people are meeting for the first time in 15 years. So why not re-release it then? But I mean, what more do I need to say about this movie? The Big Chill. Fantastic film. If you haven't seen it already, definitely go check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. So, on to the last movie, and that is The Red Violin.
Its perfection astounds.
600,000.
Its mystery endures.
700,000. 1,100,000. 1,300,000. 2,400,000. So,
The Red Violin.
Yeah, this seems like a pretentious film. This is a film that spawns 4 centuries, 5 countries, as it tells the story of this mysterious red-colored violin and its many owners. And you see one of them is Samuel L. Jackson. Just because. Actually, I'm saying this because I've never seen the film, so I don't really know if that's actually what it is. But it's got some positive reviews. It did receive some Oscar nominations, including the Oscar for Best Original Score. It was nominated for Foreign Language Film at the Golden Globe Awards. That's really all I know about it, quite honestly. I've never seen the film, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but I don't know. This just feels like one of those movies that could be very pretentious, but could actually be pretty good, too, so I don't know. And that's all I've got for you in that one. So that's The Red Violin.
What happened last summer,
We're going to the Bahamas.
nobody deserves a vacation more than Julie James.
we have arrived in paradise.
And here, miles from civilization,
So a great weekend.
Got a great weekend for
she's
me.
finally gotten away from it all.
I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you wear the key. If I had known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Don't know the lyrics. Hold on. You did something to the screen. I said, what are you talking about?
But she can never escape her past.
It's happening again.
What?
Because there are some secrets
There was a body in there. I am not going crazy. He's here.
Who is here?
and there are some fears.
Hey, Julie, you seen any dead bodies out there?
2 summers ago, we hit Ben Willis with our car, and then we threw his body in the water. Can you not tell me the whole story? I'm your best friend.
that will haunt her forever.
I want off this island.
That's not possible.
This time,
We're all gonna die! Good God, one by one!
there's no getting away. Let it go!
If you want me, Ben, come and get me! I'm right here!
I still know what you did last summer. Get hooked again.
Let me put it to you this way in terms of the level of the intelligence of this movie. A radio station calls the main characters to tell them they want a vacation to the Bahamas if they could tell them what the capital of Brazil is. They say it's Rio. That is not the capital of Brazil. Should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about this friggin' movie. I mean, this is about as bad as it gets. And I didn't like the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, but at least it was trying. It had Kevin Williamson behind it. He had written the Scream movies. The Scream movies have an existence to be a franchise. This does not. This is pretty much just the exact same movie, except a new assortment of victims that are going to get chopped up, except for Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr., who are back from the first movie. But this time, hey, we got Brandy, we got Mekhi Phifer, we got this guy Matthew Settle, whoever the hell he is. I really don't know who he is. I'm blanking on what I know him from, but like the stupidity levels of this movie are really ridiculous. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever. There's not any excitement to this. The scares in this are not that exciting. It's the same movie over and over again, and it doesn't do anything different or new or unique to make it stand out or have a purpose. Like I said, Scream has a purpose to exist for more than one movie. They showed you that with the second film. This does not. This is a film that is just all over the place. It's the same movie over again. It's not exciting. It's not intelligent. It's not smart. It's not enjoyable whatsoever. Even if you want to see this just because you know it's a generic slasher movie, there are so many better generic slasher movies than this freaking piece of crap. And I don't like it. I really do not like this movie. I've never liked these. I Know What You Did Last Summer movies, but the first one at least had a purpose for existing. This one just exists because the first one was such a big success and they had to make a sequel. Like, they didn't even wait a full year for this movie to come out. That's how bad this movie is. It's just like, it's a mess. It's a mess on so many levels. That's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Anthony Hopkins and Brad Pitt in Meet Joe Black.
From the next world, let me ask your opinion. Do I blend in? Has come to visit ours. You want me to be your guy? I wish you'd see the world.
Tell me about yourself, Joe.
I'm sometimes not quite at home around people. On November 13th, Universal Pictures invites you to experience life. I would like it if we were friends.
I've got plenty of friends.
I don't have any. Through the eyes of Joe Black. I have this big feeling in my knee. Did you tell her who you are?
What are you afraid of, Dad? That I'll fall head over heels for Joe? Well, I have.
Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins.
I don't want to leave.
Meet Joe Black.
I want to be with you, Joe.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, November 13th.
So this is a story about a guy who's celebrating his 65th birthday, played by Anthony Hopkins, and he's visited by Death, played by Brad Pitt, who wants to know what it's like to be human in return for giving Bill extra days of his life. He ends up falling in love for his daughter, played by Claire Forlani, and you can pretty much tell where the rest of it goes from there. What they're not showing you in the trailer is the hilariously overly bad scene where Brad Pitt's character gets hit by a car and he gets hit. It's just the way that scene is shot is just amazing. If you haven't seen that scene, I'd say definitely go look for that. I can tell that the people who wrote for Duckman actually probably wrote that, because no joke, this is co-written by Ron Osborne and Jeff Reno, who wrote for Duckman, the TV series, along with Bo Goldman and Kevin Wade. It's directed by Martin Brest too, who's made some good movies: Son of a Woman, Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run. This one, it's hard to really get a grasp on it. I mean, at times it can be really good. There are elements about it that do kind of work. Brad Pitt is okay here, even though he looks very one-note in that commercial I just showed you. And he doesn't really have a whole lot of connection with Claire Forlani overall. Anthony Hopkins is Anthony Hopkins. He's usually going to give a good performance, but it runs on for way too long. A 3-hour movie like this, it needs to keep going. It does not have to be this movie that just... You have no real investment in the characters for that long period of time, and you really struggle to keep up the pace with it. And like I said, there are times when the movie is supposed to be taken really seriously, but you can't help but laugh at your ass off at some of the stupid decisions they make because of it. Specifically, that car scene. But But the ending overall, yeah, is pretty bad too. Like, it's a cheap knockoff. It's a cheap ending to try to get a cheap emotional ploy out of you. This is clearly an Oscar bait film and not really a good one. I mean, there's so many other better movies that these people have been involved in. Meet Joe Black definitely is not that. It's not a good movie. It's not a bad movie either. It's just definitely a very, very mixed bag of a film. It just doesn't deliver on everything that they promise that they give you. But yeah, that's Meet Joe Black. But I still like Meet Joe Black over our next movie, and that is Jonathan Taylor Thomas and I'll Be Home for Christmas.
How far will one guy go
Come on, Jake. We can make it.
to get home for Christmas? 3,000 miles,
I'm in the middle of nowhere being attacked by a killer buzzard.
12 states,
Put this on, act like my elf. How the hell's that? Happy.
one red suit.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Whatever.
For Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the holiday rush is on. Disney's I'll Be Home for Christmas. Now on video.
One of the worst comedies ever made. I talked about this a while ago when No Hard Feelings came out. That movie, which was a much better mix of that movie and Private Lessons, two of the worst comedies of all time. The director of that probably saw, No Hard Feelings probably saw those movies and said, you know what, I can make a good movie out of this. I mean, this is something that can be made into a successful film. This film, not so much. The plot is literally a college student who must make it home from his campus in Los Angeles, California, to his family home in Larchmont, New York, in time for Christmas dinner in order to win his father's Porsche. That is literally the plot of the film. And first of all, let's make the Family Guy joke right now.
A 20-minute call to Larchmont? What do we know in Larchmont?
My sister-in-law.
Oh, yes, right. Carol. Yes, that's right. How is Carol?
Second of all, how did Jonathan Taylor Thomas go from being the young kid from Home Improvement and Man of the House to sounding like he's still going through puberty as a teenager? I mean, when Macaulay Culkin grew up right before our eyes, from Home Alone to Richie Rich, the transition from kid to teenager didn't look that bad. That took over 4 years. This is between 3 years. This is 3 years between this movie and Man of the House. And third, man, this trailer is so misleading. Jake wasn't even going to come home for Christmas, as he was trying to convince his girlfriend to go with him to Hawaii at first, before saying, no, screw that, I want to be home with my family for the holidays. So, yeah, nice job of trying to hide that, Disney. Also, Jake's dad had to convince him to come home because he was going to give him the Porsche if he was home by 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve for dinner. But hey, if you showed us that, then you wouldn't have to admit that Jake is kind of a freaking asshole. And he's a friggin' asshole. This whole movie is a friggin' asshole. And like I've said before, this was back when the Disney live-action movie department was really struggling to keep up and had very rare good films. And this film did not do itself any favors. You can't get invested in these characters whatsoever, especially Jake, because he's just such an arrogant douchebag in this movie all throughout the film. And I'm not saying and I know the saying is assholes finish first, but assholes can be likable too, and Jake is not a likable asshole. I mean, that's 5 times I've had to use the word asshole in this. I mean, this is getting rough. And it also doesn't help that everybody else is really unlikable, from his girlfriend, played by Jessica Biel, even down to the family, who are literally bribing him back home for a frickin' car. And all the characters in here are just obnoxious, they're stupid, they have no remorse to them at all whatsoever. And I get the feeling that that movie Christmas with the Cranks and Deck the Halls took a lot of how to make a Christmas movie so against the spirit and the meaning of the holiday season, because a lot of what I hate about those movies is in this film. It's one of the worst Christmas films ever made. It's one of the worst comedies ever made. It tries to make us feel sympathy for the most obnoxious and selfish idiots ever. The comedy's not funny. The movie looks cheap. It's just a mess of a film on so many levels. Like I said, it's one of the worst comedies ever made. Avoid it like the plague. Let's go on to a much better film. Or at least I think it's a much better film. I don't know. I haven't seen this one. So, here's Meryl Streep and Dancing at Lil Nas X.
Academy Award winner Meryl Streep in a story about the music that sets us dancing.
It's the festival of lunacy. I want to dance.
And the love that sets us free.
If even the announcer can't even say the title of your movie, then you know there's a problem here. But here's a Meryl Streep movie you probably never even heard of, so chances are the movie ain't that good. This is based off of a play by Brian Friel set in County Donegal in Ulster in the north of Ireland in August of 1936 in the fictional town of Ballybeg, and it's a memory play told from the point of view of the adult Michael Evans, the narrator, as he recounts the suburbs of his aunt's cottage when he was 7 years old. But like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so maybe it's actually not that bad. I've never even heard of this play, quite honestly, so... I mean, maybe the play itself is good, but... I don't know. Just the fact that they didn't even bother to say the title in that trailer there. Just, that's probably not a good sign for this movie going forward. And like I said, it's a Meryl Streep movie you probably never even heard of. The film didn't even do that well with critics. I mean, they'll praise it because Meryl Streep in there. I mean, Meryl Streep could take a shit while sitting on the toilet, and she'd get praised for it. I mean, come on, that's the obvious truth. But yeah, I've got nothing else for you on this one here. I've never seen the movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. So let's go ahead and just move on to the next movie, and that is Welcome to Whoop Whoop. Another one I never even heard of, but this is the follow-up for Stephen Elliott after his success with The Adventures of Priscilla Queen in the Desert, and you have Jonathan Scheck as a con artist who escapes a deal gone wrong in New York and winds up in the Australian outback in a strange town where inhabitants are an oddball collection of misfits. That's pretty much all I know about this one. I've never seen this movie before. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even know it even existed. I didn't know this director who did Priscilla Queen in the Desert did another film after this. I mean, he probably did, but now I know he did, but I had no idea before I even started looking this up. So I really don't know anything about this movie except the fact that it's based on a novel and that Whoop Whoop is a colloquialism. Even as I try to say it, after I do look it up on Google, I probably didn't say it right. But it's her referring to an exact location, usually in rural or remote Australia. Again, that's pretty much all I know about the movie. Jonathan Scheck was good at That Thing You Do. That's pretty much all I can remember about him. I don't know if he's good in this. He probably is, but that's really all I know about this film. So that's Welcome to Whoop Whoop. On to the next movie, and that is Hardcore Logo.
In the beginning, there was nothing. But then God said, let there be.
Well, some of that's true.
From director Bruce McDonald comes a film about Canada's favorite band. Hardcore Logo. Now.
So this is a Canadian mockumentary centering around the documentary of a once popular punk band called Hardcore Logo, comprising of lead singer Joe Dick, famed temper guitarist Billy Talent, schizophrenia bass player John Oxenberger, and drummer Pipe Fitter. Basically, it's kind of like it looks like a Canadian version of This Is Spinal Tap, and I've seen This Is Spinal Tap many times. Never heard of this movie before. Apparently it was a big success because they made a sequel to this not but 15 years after this movie came out in Canada for the first time. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know too much about it. I've never seen the film, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but it probably is if it's got a sequel to it. But that's Hardcore Logo, so let's go on ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Thursday. So Thursday centers around a former LA drug dealer who's moved to Houston to make a new life for himself and as a married architect. Everything falls apart when he is suddenly visited by one of his former co-ops who comes carrying heroin. And you have a cast that includes Thomas Jane, Aaron Eckhart, Pauline Porskova, James LaGrosse, Paul Marshall, Michael Jeter, Glenn Plummer, Mickey Rourke, Gary Doonan. It's directed by Skip Woods, who would later become known as a prolific writer for stuff like Swordfish, Hitman, A Good Day to Die Hard, X-Men Origins Wolverine, The A-Team. Notable films. I never said great films, but notable films. As far as the film itself goes, I don't really know too much about it. I've never seen it before. Thomas Jane and Aaron Eckhart, they can be really good actors if you put them in some good stuff, so who knows, maybe this is actually pretty good, but like I said, I haven't seen the film, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, so that is Thursday.
For nearly a decade, they've invaded your homes. Their little bodies dispensing frightful tales and invoking fear in the hearts of men. Every sunrise and every sunset, they appear again and again, ready to wreak more havoc.
Hang on to your side piece, baby!
Rugrats movie.
About time someone make me into a movie star.
A motion picture for anyone who ever wore diapers.
Of course, I don't really need to tell you who the Rugrats are. I think no matter what age you are, you have a good idea of who they are. But this was the big feature film debut for them. And this is a story where you have Tommy facing responsibilities with a new baby brother being born, and Dill. As with all newborns, the child becomes a bane to Tommy and the rest of the gang, as well as Tommy's parents, honestly. Even Phil and Will don't get along with him, so they decide to return Dill where he came from, the hospital, but they end up getting lost, really lost, and getting into an adventure where they end up in the forest. They have to deal with all the elements, including a group of monkeys in a circus, a Wolverine that's after them, and it's just a lot of crazy things happening in a big adventure. This is kind of the textbook definition of what you do for a big screen adventure. You basically take these characters outside of their environment and into this much bigger, grander adventure. And this film has a lot of notable firsts to it. It's the first animated feature from Nickelodeon. You could tell right away if you saw this in theaters, because you got a cat dog short that was pretty clearly made for theaters. Sadly, it has not been officially released on DVD or video. In fact, when the Rugrats movie came out, they actually took an episode from the Cat Dog TV show instead of actually putting the short on there, which still baffles me to this day why that has not gotten a proper release. But it was the first movie, of course, based on a Nicktoon. Even though Nickelodeon had plans to do a couple movies with 20th Century Fox for Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy back in the 90s. And I'll talk more about that in tomorrow's Reviewing Network Live. But it was an interesting little bit of what-if history. If those films had gotten made, these movies would probably be under the Disney label right now. But most notably, among all the firsts that this movie has, another major first for this film was that it was the first non-Disney animated film to make over $100 million domestically. So that's, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs have been out in theaters for over 60 years at this point, and no other animated film outside of Disney made over $100 million until this movie did. I mean, this was back before computer animation was the norm, so DreamWorks was not the big name that it was now. You didn't have Illumination, you didn't have Blue Sky, you didn't even have Warner Brothers' current animation department that couldn't make a film that was successful at the time, but it took the Rugrats of all things, to cross $100 million. And Disney, honestly, considering the history that they've had with competition and other studios trying to do whatever it takes to make sure that people go see their movies over this animated films, they didn't really do a whole lot with this particular movie, at least not. Mostly because I think it was because they'd have a movie coming out a couple days later, which we'll get to in just a little bit. And the reason why the Rugrats movie was a success was because it came at the right time. I mean, Rugrats was still popular in the 90s. The show had just come back after a couple of years off the air. It was still a big hit for Nickelodeon, so needless to say, it was still a massive success. And like I said, as far as the movie itself goes, it follows the typical structure for a big screen adaptation like this. Have these characters go on a grander, bigger scale adventure than what they're used to, keep a lot of the charm from the original show so that people can stick with it, and the movie definitely does have that. It definitely keeps a lot of the charm and enjoyment of the original series, while even not being afraid to go for a little bit more intense scenes in here than you would think. Like, there were some moments in here that I was just kind of like, that's pretty grim, especially considering that these are babies, so they're not afraid to have this edge that they can bring into this film, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it. There are notable downsides to the film. The animation is surprisingly much bleaker than it is in the original cartoon. Like, they're trying to go for kind of more of a realistic animation style to it for these characters from the first movie. It's both kind of a negative and a positive, and for one instance, yeah, it looks much better than the TV show, but at the same time, it does feel off. And there are way too many moments and characters that have no purpose to the plot whatsoever. It's like, there's an entire pointless sequence with these circus monkeys that get lost in the woods, start attacking the babies, and they serve no purpose except to just be one of the threats they face in the movie. Kind of like the Wolverine. There's no reason for him to be in the movie except to just be a threat. Like, stuff like this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it doesn't really contribute to anything except to move the story along. But for the most part, the movie does its job pretty well. I think it's a decent feature film adaptation of the show, upping the animation style a little bit as well as the adventure aspect. It still keeps the charm of the original series in full, and it certainly isn't the best Rugrats movie, but it came out at the right time. It was a film that I think a lot of people really got invested into, myself included, because I was a big fan of the show at the time. Still am, but take it for what it is, and I think you'll enjoy it for what it is. There certainly are a lot better movies from the Rugrats that we'll definitely get into in the years to come. So that's the Rugrats movie. So let's go ahead and move on to the other big new release this weekend, and that is Will Smith and Gene Hackman in Enemy of the State.
Julie, I'm going to finish up my Christmas shopping. Hey, do chicks dig lingerie?
Hi.
Hey, hi.
What size?
Yeah, right. She's a 6.
What about cup size?
I'm sorry? Oh, no, she's way bigger than that. I mean, not noticeably.
Help me. Robert Clayton Dean. He's a DC label attorney.
Take us around the other side.
Focus on the drop.
Is it tight?
A powerful man has been murdered.
Holy.
A hidden camera recorded the crime.
None of this goes beyond us. We don't need any more problems, do we?
An innocent bystander
Are those my Christmas presents?
In your dreams, buddy.
Dad.
was given the evidence.
We have reason to believe that Mr. Zavitz may have passed sensitive materials to you.
No, he didn't pass me anything. How did you happen to be at Ruby's today? I was shopping for some lingerie. That's still legal, isn't it?
For your wife?
No, I was picking something up for myself. I do a little cross-dressing on the weekends. Let's get into his life.
Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer.
Take his wife and kid and give it up for them.
Target switching.
Directed by Tony Scott.
Why are they after me? 2 targets. Who's top?
You have something they want.
I don't have anything!
With immediate keyhole visual tasking.
Target is on 21.
Don't do this to me.
Get out. 19.
Been a law-abiding citizen my whole life. One day with you, shoot.
He's running. Target 6 o'clock.
Will Smith.
Certainly carjacked a really nice car.
Gene Hackman.
Either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid.
Enemy of the state.
Should have gotten our watch.
So as the trailer indicates, this is a Jerry Bruckheimer production, also directed by Tony Scott, and also features Will Smith, who had just come off of 2 blockbuster films at that point, Independence Day, and also the Men in Black, and also Bad Boys as well. So his star power is pretty much very much in effect here. And you basically have a story where you have a group of corrupt NSA agents conspiring to kill a congressman, and the cover-up that ensures after a tape of the murder ends up in the possession of an unsuspecting lawyer, the lawyer being played by Will Smith. You see that Jason Lee is the guy that actually gives him the tape in the scene there. And it's a really good movie. It's definitely not one of the best Tony Scott films, but Tony Scott makes a lot of good movies overall. The style of this movie really is top-notch, and it helps that you have a guy like Will Smith working off of these actors very well. You have, Gene Hackman, John Voight, Lisa Bonet, Gabriel Byrne, Tom Sizemore, Seth Green, Regina King, Jason Lee, Scott Conn, Jake Busey, Barry Pepper, Jack Black, Lauren Dean. I mean, there's a phenomenal cast in here. You could say that there's a lot of parallels to something like a North by Northwest. It has it feels like kind of a modern day version of a North by Northwest sort of. Like there's a lot of moments in there where you feel like that they took a lot of inspiration from that film. And the movie does a very good job with it. The writing overall is very good. The action sequences are top-notch. The direction overall is very good. It's a really solid film. I really enjoyed it a whole lot. It's one of Will Smith's more underrated films as a whole. But it definitely is a film that I think deserves a lot more attention compared to some of his other more prevalent works. It's a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out. Enemy of the State, really good film. Definitely check it out. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Woody Allen's latest film, Celebrity.
One sensuous starlet, a gorgeous supermodel, a volatile wife, an aspiring actress, and an out-of-control movie star have in common.
You will not be sorry, trust me.
They're all taking this reporter for a walk on the wild side of fame.
What are you thinking? Sit down, boy. You won't kill me.
Celebrity.
I use your exercise tape.
You do?
So do I.
But I exercise to it.
Rated R starts Friday, November 20th at a theater near you.
So this is one of Woody Allen's films that does not get the respect that it probably thought it deserved. And once you see the film, you can actually see why it's sometimes often considered to be one of Woody Allen's worst movies, and I cannot blame him for that. You have Kenneth Branagh playing this unsuccessful novelist turned travel writer who immerses himself in celebrity journalism following a midlife crisis and a subsequent divorce from his wife, played by Judy Davis. He stumbles his way through professional encounters and sexual escapades with performers, models, other people in the world of entertainment, and he increasingly questions his purpose in life, and he has all these different situations going on here. It's a really big cast overall here. Branagh, Davis, we see Winona Ryder, Leonardo DiCaprio, Melanie Griffith, Famke Janssen, Joe Mantegna, Charlize Theron, Gretchen Mol, Michael Lerner, Bebe Neuwirth, J.K. Simmons, Dylan Baker, Deborah Messing, Allison Janney. There's a great cast in this film. Just bad execution overall. It's a film that really you really can't tell what the heck Woody Allen was trying to do with this film. And you have a mind like Kenneth Branagh. I mean, Kenneth Branagh will make anything worth it because you could tell that this guy has a heart that he likes to put into every film that he's done. Case in point, what he's done with the Hercule Poirot movies. But I think because he didn't have complete control over this project, this film really kind of suffers because you have two different visions coming together here: Woody Allen's vision and Kenneth Branagh's vision. And honestly, these two visions don't really mesh well together unless you have a really good script that can make it work off of this. But it's got a couple of decent funny moments here and there, but it's one of those films that whenever you hear anybody talk about one of Woody Allen's worst movies, this one's definitely probably one of them, if not the most famous one. So that is Celebrity. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is a limited release of Disney's newest animated feature from the creators of Toy Story. This is A Bug's Life.
They come, they eat, they leave. They come, they eat, they leave. They come, they eat, they leave.
Let me tell you how things are supposed to work. The sun grows the food, the ants pick the food, the grasshoppers eat the food. It's a bug-eat-bug world out there. Someone could get hurt.
We could send someone to get help. Ludicrous.
There's snakes and bigger bugs out there.
Exactly. We could find bigger bugs to come here and fight.
Now, why didn't I think of that? Oh, because it's suicide.
From the creators of Toy Story,
The cavalry has arrived.
comes an epic of miniature proportions.
Ta-da!
Hey, cutie! Want to pollinate with a real bug?
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, Flyboy?
Christ, she's a guy!
Walt Disney Pictures presents
You think this is a game?
Hey, go, go, go!
a Pixar Animation Studios film.
Oh, my dicker!
We are gonna knock them dead!
A Bug's Life.
Run for your life!
So we talked about Ants a couple of weeks ago. Ants and A Bug's Life, of course, were part of this big war between Jeffrey Katzenberg at DreamWorks and Disney and the people at Pixar, because the belief was that both of these movies were made at the same time, although technically this film was being made well before then, because this film was started production in 1995, and the Ants were more redesigned to be more appealing. And Pixar's animation unit employed technical innovations for this particular film to give this film a little bit of an edge over Ants. And while I said Ants was the much better film, A Bug's Life is still a really good film too. But yeah, you could definitely tell there's a lot of similarities between both of these movies. But I think A Bug's Life still is a solidly made film. It's a fun, enjoyable movie. I think the animation overall is very well done. The characters are a ton of fun to watch, too. They have great voice actors: Dave Foley, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Kevin Spacey, Phyllis Diller, Dennis Leary, John Ratzenberger, of course, Bonnie Hunt. There's a great cast involved in this film. And, yeah, the story itself is very predictable. It's basically the Three Amigos. I mean, it's literally that same plot that we saw in the Three Amigos. We get those lazy cliches like the liar revealed, among many other things. And it really doesn't do anything new or creative with it, honestly. Plus, when you really look at some of the CG in this movie, it really does not hold up after all these years. Like, the rain in particular, like, really looks fake compared to what Pixar is able to do nowadays. Even the bird looks more fake than the fake bird that they were actually trying to use in this movie. Like, that just says a whole lot about how the animation overall has changed in the 25 years since this movie's come out. But, yeah, like I said, it's not a bad movie. Far from it. I think it is still a competently made film. It's an overall enjoyable movie, but if you're going to ask me to choose between this and Ants, I gotta say Ants is the much better movie overall. I like this movie, but Ants, I think, just had more funnier moments to it, had more of an edge to it. I thought it was the much better film. Yeah, that may have started production well after they had started working on this, but they made a much better movie out of it than I think A Bug's Life did. But A Bug's Life isn't a bad film. I need to specify that. Bug's Life is not a bad film. So that's A Bug's Life. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Waking Ned Divine.
So, big one, is it?
6 million. 894,620 pounds. How does that make you feel?
Waking Ned Divine. Waking Ned Divine.
Well, I guess Waking Ned if you're not living in the United States. It seems weird that they did that, because like it's called Waking Ned Divine here, and you think that'd be a full title in other countries, but no, it's only here. But if you go somewhere else, it's called Waking Ned. But the basic story is that you have the lucky winner of a national lottery, who's Ned Devine. So taken by his good fortune that he now can't be waked because he died from the shock of it, news of the win spreads quickly in the scenic little Irish village of Tullymore, but not the secret news of Ned's demise, with the lottery offices closing in to confirm the prize claimed by the deceased Devine. Ned's closest friends scheme to keep the prize money close to home in memory of Ned, of course, but as the plot turns humorously, they learn it is harder to keep such a secret in a small town. And this is directed by Kirk Jones, and Kirk Jones he's been a decent director over the last couple of years. This was the first movie he ever did. He did Nanny McPhee, which is not a bad film. I liked Everybody's Fine, which had Robert De Niro, Kate Beckinsale, and Sam Rockwell in it. A very underrated film. But then he did What to Expect When You're Expecting, and then he followed that up with My Big Fat Greek Wedding too. So, needless to say, his directing career is a very mixed bag, but this is probably one of his best-known films. And it features a great performance by Ian Brenneman, David Kelly, Fiona Flanagan. Just a really good cast overall here. A nice, quiet film. Like, not a whole lot really happens in here, even though a lot does happen. Like, it manages to keep the tones very well here. It balances out the comedy and dramatic elements very well here. And for a film like this, it's a very good film. It's a very underrated little film that kind of fits alongside other lesser films of this similar type. Like stuff like, things like Local Hero, or even something like The Full Monty, or something like the Richard Curtis movies, the old Richard Curtis movies of the 90s. But it's a fun little film. It's a good film overall that works with its great performances, some great visuals, like a great look of the Isle of Man. I mean, it's a really good film. It's definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it already. Waking Ned Devine, definitely worth a watch. So on to the next movie, and that is Central Station.
Winner of the Best Actress Award at the Berlin Film Festival. Central Station, an unforgettable emotional experience. From Sony Pictures Classics.
And I have never seen it, so I can't tell you much about it. It's a story about a young boy's friendship with a jaded middle-aged woman. The woman being played by Fernando Montenegro, and that's really all I got for you. I've never even heard of this movie, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but it's got some good critical reviews. It's highly acclaimed. It's been called one of the 100 best films of world cinema, so that's pretty much all we know about that one. So that is Central Station. So on to the last movie we have here, Savior. So you have a movie centering around a U.S. mercenary played by Dennis Quaid, who is escorting a Bosnian Serb woman played by, I believe it's Natasha Kinski, and her newborn child to a United Nations safe zone during the Bosnian War. And it's produced by Oliver Stone, came out in 1998, and that's, again, really all I know about the film, except it also has Stellan Skarsgård among the cast. Doesn't look like it has the best reviews overall, so honestly, it probably isn't that great of a film overall, so, I don't know. I haven't seen the film, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, so, that is Savior.
Take around here.
Whoa, this Thanksgiving. Babe is leaving the farm.
You can't leave. He can't leave.
To help his friends.
Whatever the pig says, goes.
Beg your pardon?
On November 25th, the pig is taking charge. The adventure's taking off. And the whole city's going to town.
And the doctor. Witness to insanity.
Babe, Pig in the City. Rated PG. Starts Wednesday, November 25th at theaters everywhere.
So what happens in this movie is that it follows after the events of the first film. After Babe's success in the sheep herding contest, the farmer Arthur Hoggett, once again played by James Cromwell, turns down all offers to make money with the pig's talents. But when he gets hurt severely in the well, his wife has to take up farming, and his wife is once again played by Miriam Margolyes. And the farmer basically kind of disappears after the first 10-15 minutes, which is a little bit disappointing, but at least the film that follows actually is really good. Let me continue with the story. She does her best but cannot meet the bank's requirements, which results in the necessity of getting back to Babe. Soon, Esme Hoggett is on a plane sailing for the city, and there Babe unwillingly causes deep trouble. He has to stay with Mrs. Hoggett in the hotel, only that accepts the pets, friendly neighbors and officials who catch all animals from the hotel, cats, dogs, chimpanzees, many others. Babe decides to help his new friends and get unexpected help from Ferdinand, who flew all the way to the city. And this is a film that has a very interesting history behind it. It's, I think the first big mistake was opening this on Thanksgiving weekend, in a spot where you have a Rugrats movie, which would become the first non-Disney animated film to make $100 million. Opening the same weekend was the wider release of Disney Pixar's A Bug's Life. You have so many other family films coming out around this time period. This movie was really going to not make a lot of money compared to the first film. And despite that, I mean, the film wasn't a big hit. It was a big bomb. It had a $90 million budget. It made only $70 million of it back. But despite that, the film did very well with critics. In fact, Gene Siskel, I think, actually named it one of his best movies of 1998, if not the best film of 1998. And when you watch the movie is really, really damn good. Like, I would honestly say it's one of the best sequels of all time. I mean, this one is directed by George Miller, who only wrote the first film. But of course, George Miller, I don't think I need to tell you all of his work that he's done. I mean, the Mad Max movies, Twilight Zone the movie, The Witches of Eastwick, Lorenzo's Oil, 40,000 Years of Dreaming, 3,000 Years of Longing, the Mad Max Fury Road, the Happy Feet movies. I mean, this guy does not make a lot of bad movies. And when he puts his name behind this, when he puts his directorial efforts behind this film, he elevates this to a whole nother level. I'm amazed at how much this movie has held up so well in the year since its release. Like, when I saw it for the first time, I thought it was alright. I thought it was a decent kids film, but as time has gone on, I've really grown to appreciate how mature this movie is, how well done the story is. This is a really damn good movie. It's a film that really had a lot of high expectations coming off of the first film. For some people, it didn't deliver on those promises at first, but I think once they realized that, and actually the movie actually once the movie actually came out and people actually really got a chance to take a look at it, it really is something very special. It really is a very good film. Visually, it's gorgeous to look at. Story-wise, it has so many elements to it. Like, it's not just one linear story, unlike the first film. It takes you to, like, these different places all throughout the film. The enchantment factor is there, the originality is there, the humor is there, it's very fun. It reminds me a lot of the Paddington movies, honestly. Like, the Paddington films are very much kind of like the Bay movies in a way that they are very, they know exactly, they're made specifically for kids and families, but anybody who has a good heart can actually look at these movies and find a lot to really admire about the Paddington films. I could say the same thing about the Bay movies, and this movie really was something that really took me by surprise when I first saw it. Like, or I mean, in the time that I've seen it, because like I said, the first time I saw it, I thought it was just okay, but as time has gone on, I've really grown to appreciate it more and more, and I think it's a very good sequel. It's probably one of the most underrated sequels you'll probably ever see. It's a film that really, even if you hadn't seen the original Babe, you can pretty much catch up to everything that's going on right away and find a lot to really admire about the film. It's a really enjoyable film. I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it already. It's definitely worth a watch. Babe, Pig in the City, I highly recommend it. So with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Drew Barrymore and Luke Wilson in Home Fries.
Serving up burgers.
How do you make a Whopper? Man, that's Burger King.
Ladies,
You mind if I ask you about the father of friends?
Orion,
Yes, ma'am.
have you ever heard of Lamaze?
This is a strange situation.
lovers.
Sally, I love
Okay.
Drew Barrymore, Luke Wilson, Home Fries.
You all come back now.
Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, November 25th.
From the same man that gave us Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. No joke, Vince Gilligan wrote the script for this. We'll delve into that in just a second, but you have this hamburger waitress played by Drew Barrymore who's pregnant. Meanwhile, Beatrice, the wife of the father, finds out about his infidelity, and she sends her sons from a previous marriage, military pilots Angus and Dorian Montier, to scare the living daylights out of them. Their gunship does such a good job without hitting him that he dies from a heart attack, and worry about radio interference that night. They investigate who might have heard too much within the fairly empty reception perimeter, and soon discover only Sally could, still ignorant about her affair with her stepdad. Dorian takes a job there to be sure, and soon falls for her himself, while Mother, obsessed more on Angus, would do anything for her honor. And Dorian is played by Luke Wilson. Angus is played by Jake Busey. The mother is played by Catherine O'Hara. Shelley Duvall is also in here, so is Daryl Mitchell. So there's a great cast involved in here. But Vince Gilligan wrote this for a film class at New York University, and I guess Warner Brothers looked at it and said, hey, this is pretty good. Let's make a movie out of it. Maybe it was just Barry Levinson, the producer, but I digress. This is also directed by Dean Parasot, who would later go on to find much better success with Galaxy Quest, Fun with Dick and Jane, Bill and Ted Face the Music. So he has directed some decent films. I think the biggest thing overall with this film is that I remember it, but I don't remember it too fondly. And Drew Barrymore does not usually make a ton of bad movies. She makes some bad choices with her talk show, but you can listen to that over on the Reviewing Network Live, guys. I'd give you a cheap plug there, but I digress. Like, Drew Barrymore very rarely makes bad movies, and even when she does, she is giving it her all in these movies, and she's perfectly fine in here. She's got some good chemistry with Luke Wilson, but it is essentially a chick flick, honestly. Like, even when Vince Gilligan involved in here, this is still when he was still kind of in the pre-X-Files, just before he was going to hit it with the X-Files in a couple of years, and eventually he would become the man that we know him as today. But yeah, the film itself really does not have too much memorability to it, honestly. It's a film that I remember watching it. I was just kind of like, I'm not really getting a whole lot here with it. It's just kind of a forgettable film. It's a movie that I kind of wish had a little bit more, considering the talent that they had on board here, but it's not surprising that this film ended up being what it is, just based on the trailers alone. So, that's Home Fries. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Ringmaster with Jerry Springer, because clearly he deserves to have his own movie, right?
Join the sweetest group of people you'll ever want to meet.
Yeah. Save it for the show, okay?
I say to wear my jacket. Not until you can sleep with my husband. Hey, Linda Blair, sing your hair about one more time. I'm gonna give you a kiss.
Jerry Springer in Ringmaster. Rated R. Starts November 25th.
Yeah, this is clearly a studio looking at the success of Howard Stern's Private Parts and saying, we can do that with Jerry Springer. He basically stars as himself, the host of a raunchy, controversial, and popular Los Angeles talk show called Jerry, because heaven forbid if we actually called it the Jerry Springer Show, like it is in real life, because this has to be so different from that show. But it features everyday people with problems and frequently vent their problems on the air, and a new guest. A group of guests are flown into one show, including white trailer trash from Sarasota, Florida, one of them played by Jamie Presley, pre-My Name is Earl success. Connie, whose current husband has cheated on her with her nymphomatic teenage daughter. Angel, for which Connie has gotten revenge by having sex with Angel's fiancé. And from Detroit, black trash Starletta, whose boyfriend Damone had slept with all of his girlfriends. Soon the paths of all these parties cross, which leads to more sex, arguments, physical violence, and Jerry sweating it out just another day. Now, here's the biggest problem with this film. It's trying way too hard to be like Private Parts. Private Parts did a good job of making Howard Stern a likable character based off of his autobiography. But this is clearly a studio that saw that success and said, we need to make a movie like that. And you have 3 different plots going on in here, and none of them really have nothing to work with here. There's nothing about any of these that are funny whatsoever. Jerry Springer is just playing Jerry Springer. There's really nothing about him that makes him unique. You don't like any one of these characters on the show, even though the intent is not to like them, but you want to at least relate to some of these people on here. But this film just has absolutely nothing to work with. And this director, Neil Abramson, this is I believe only his second film as a director, and he's not made anything. He's mostly known as a music video director. He's directed a lot of music videos, including stuff from Fleetwood Mac, Janet Jackson, Dwight Yoakam, Seal, UB40, Deborah Harry, Lyle Lovett, and we just saw a movie a couple weeks ago from Hype Williams, who's a really good music video director. And I've never seen that film, but I was really curious to see what he would do with a film like that. This is a director that clearly is just taking a film and just making it because the studio clearly wants their own version of Private Parts, except that Private Parts was actually smart and very funny. This movie is not. It is just basically, here's what's going on behind the scenes of the Jerry Springer Show. And that's it. Like, there's nothing about these characters that you like about them whatsoever. Like, why isn't Jerry Springer just playing Jerry Springer? He's got to play Jerry Fairley. Like, really? You just, like, if you're going to do this, make it about the actual Jerry Springer Show, because that's what people are going to see this movie for. Nobody's going to see this movie to know about these stories, about these other characters who are not supposed to like whatsoever. Like, what's the point of even going into this film? And more importantly, why would you release this movie on Thanksgiving weekend? Like, what brain cells tell you that this film deserves to be seen on Thanksgiving weekend? This is the type of film that should open in the dumping ground months of January or September, and maybe it'd do a little bit better. But on top of that, you don't spend $20 million on a movie like this. It only brought back $9 million of that $20 million budget. So that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about this movie. This is a terrible, terrible movie. I've been wanting to see it for a number of years. I finally got a DVD of it a long time ago, and I've regretted watching it ever since. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's one of the most unfunniest, uninventive, uninspired comedies you will ever see. It's a watered-down version of Private Parts. It's not funny, and it just doesn't work. It's not funny. It's not creative. It just doesn't have anything there to make it worth your while. It's a waste of time. Just watch Private Parts. Private Parts is a much smarter, much funnier, much more clever movie. This is just garbage. This is just a garbage film. Plain and simple. So, that is Ringmaster. So, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here. Another movie that really shouldn't have been released on Thanksgiving weekend, but thankfully is a lot better than Ringmaster. It's Very Bad Things. Sort of a precursor to The Hangover, except much darker. And for most people, that's not as good. It's not as funny, but I don't know. I think it's just as good as the original Hangover. I mean, it's certainly a lot better than the Hangover sequels. You basically have a story where you have a group of friends going to Las Vegas for a bachelor party. Things go wrong. A woman gets killed, so the bodies are piling up, and the friends find themselves turning against one another as the cover-up builds. And not only do you have Christian Slater among the cast, but you have Jon Favreau, Daniel Stern, Jeremy Piven, Leland Orser, Cameron Diaz, Gene Triplehorn, Kobe Ties, the woman that gets killed. Directed by Peter Berg himself. This was actually his first film he ever directed. And I really love this movie, man. I love how dark it gets. I love how over the top it gets. I just love how just insane the movie gets. And it does get pretty insane. There are moments in this movie where people are getting killed off in the sickest, most bizarre ways possible. There's a great scene where Daniel Stern's character is getting taken out by a car, and he's like, he's going to drive into my minivan, and he just gets killed, and his body just gets destroyed, and it's just like for most people that'd be too much, but for me, I like that kind of stuff. I like that kind of dark humor. I think it's very, very funny, and I think it's a very funny film. I think it's a very poorly, badly written, tasteless film, but you know what? I loved every single moment of it. I loved how dark it got. I loved how silly it got. I loved how mean-spirited it was. I had a good time with it. I thought it was a ton of fun. Should not have been released on Thanksgiving weekend. This is one of those films, kind of like Ringmaster. It's just kind of like, if you'd released this in January or in March or maybe even September, this film probably would have done a whole lot better and probably would have been received a lot better maybe, but I really enjoyed this film. I know a lot of people really don't, but honestly, I thought it was a ton of fun. I love this movie. Very Bad Things. Very funny black comedy. Definitely check it out.